Welcome back to my podcast. My name is Gabrielle Burton, and I am your host of Hosting Heaven. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist of 10 years, and I specialize in narcissistic and spiritual abuse. And I'm also the author of the book, The Ultimate Guide to Becoming a Gold Digger, Discovering the Hidden Treasures Within. It helps you combine biblical and mental health principles to help you go deeper into your relationship with God, yourself, and others. Today, I am so excited with the guest that I have. It is an old friend, Jessica.
Hey.
But I'm really excited to have this conversation. And I know that we knew each other. We've known each other for a while.
Yeah, a long time.
And I have to say, so one of the things that I love is like whenever you post something on Facebook, anytime you post something on Facebook, I said, I know Jessica is about to preach heaven and beat the hell out of somebody.
I literally will just like have something on my mind, just start ranting, and then I literally log off. So I don't even know what happens after that. So I just drop the ball and disappear.
Post and goes. Period. I said what I said.
The body needs to know this. Okay, I'm gone.
No, but it's always really good though. I think that what I really love about what you do is you actually are calling people higher.
Yeah.
It's honestly, I think sometimes the church runs away from really difficult and uncomfortable conversations.
For sure.
And then we do a lot of spiritual bypassing, or people will label you as you're offended, and all of that. But a lot of times it really is something that I think is helping people be deeply reflective, and it does resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah. I think I often clarify, because that's kind of the critique I get often, is that like you're bitter, you're being divisive. But I also believe it's my deep, deep love for the church and for the body. If we're going to go higher, if we're going to move forward and be that beacon of light we're called to be in the earth, these are things we have to address.
That's right.
And if like the same way, like if you're actually friends, if you love me, I would rather you tell me when I'm being destructive to myself and others, versus let me crash and burn.
That's right.
Because I love you, I'm gonna say, hey,
that's right,
we're crashing and burning.
That's right.
And also, like, not for nothing, I'm still a believer, I'm still on this boat with us, so
that's right,
we can also not help, like, I'm on the boat.
That's right.
So I don't want the boat to sink.
That's right.
Like, I'm not off the boat yelling at you from the shore, like, I'm actively on this boat
that's
with
right.
us.
I'm here on this journey.
Right. And so like, I understand it can be very direct and very cutting. Also, I'm like, this is coming from the deepest place of love.
Yeah.
For you and also for me. I want to not also I'm on with this shit.
Well, let's share your background though.
Yeah.
Like, throw the credentials out there.
So, I'm fourth generation ministry. So literally as far back, people always say like you were born into church. People say that you were drugged to church. My only thing I knew from childhood was growing up in church.
Yeah.
But I grew up in actual like, that sounds shady, but whatever, it's too late, I already said it. Like actual pastoral care ministry. I always give like, as an example, my dad took me, I can remember as a core memory as a child, into a crack house where we were just like sitting with people, hearing their stories, making sure they had food, clothes. So I'm very much used to like ministry in the sense of doing life with people and journeying with their stories since I was a child.
Wow, yeah.
Which developed into just like generational ministry,
Sure.
which is very common in church where you're just serving because your parents are pastoring.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until I was like 19 where I always say that's when I actually got saved, because growing up in church and being told you're saved versus actually making a decision.
Yep.
So when I was 19, I actually decided to pursue ministry and wanting to be in ministry. Went through my own testing, like seminary season, went through all of my theological classes to become a licensed and ordained minister, which then snowballed into becoming a pastor, which then snowballed into leaving the pastorate.
Yeah.
But now I just am a daughter who loves God. I do also teach like mindfulness and meditation now.
Okay. Wow.
That's a whole different journey.
Yeah. I mean, I love, for one, I mean, so you're not coming from just some rando.
No, I'm not just some random person who's like, this is what I think about the church. Like, I've been in the church for a long time.
You are the church.
I am the church.
That's right.
I also help plant churches. So like the infrastructure, I've been on staff in churches.
Yep.
And then also I'm studied, right? Like theology, seminary, all the things, licensed minister. So because there's also people who have been in ministry and don't read the Bible, which is a very bizarre thing, but it exists. There's people who do not know the scriptures and are actively working in churches. That's not my testimony, but I actually understand the church. from both sides. I understand where some pastors, their perspective is, which is why I try to bridge the gap to help like members and people understand like where they're coming from, but also still challenging my counterparts and peers and leadership, like, hey, these things are harmful also. And this is where, because I've been both. I've been sitting in the pews, and I've also been the person in the office that you're trying to get a one-on-one with for months, and no one will call you back.
Wow.
Like, I've been that guy. You know? So it's like, let me explain to you how these staff pastors are overworked and they really don't have the time, but also how it feels to not get that call back.
Yes.
And not have covering, and in your darkest times, no one's returning your call.
That's right.
So like, yeah, I love it.
I love that. I mean, you definitely cover all aspects of the church, and I appreciate that. That's why I really do think your perspective is very valuable and very needed.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, because I think, you know, sometimes when you are just in the church, right, maybe, and some people have grown up in it and have never been outside of it, right? This has been their whole entire life. They live in like this very vacuum perspective of this is what it needs to be. I do feel bad for right now for the church. They're getting a lot of pushback, right? There's a lot of pushback. I feel for pastors. I feel for leaders. You know, I can, like you, grew up in the church.
Right.
Had a relationship with the Lord since I was like 7 or 8. Yeah. My dad was a pastor. Was never my pastor because he was a narcissist, and so from a very young age, I had to learn how to discern between my earthly father and my heavenly father. Dealt with my own mental health issues. But I would say my relationship with God was always one that was very solid. And then I've always had one foot in the church and one foot in career. So I've always done therapy work, but served in ministry, worship, have very connected to ministries all over Las Vegas. And I have noticed, you know, doing ministry in Vegas for many years, a lot of churches are very territorial. Very territorial. And I'm like, we're looking at the Big C church. You know, we're the body, the kingdom, you know. But at the end of the day, I think that between the two of us, we have seen a lot of things. And then, you know, I've been doing this for 10 years, and I work primarily with Christians, helping them overcome narcissistic and spiritual abuse and church hurt. So I'm excited for this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
I'm
excited to have the conversation. Hopefully we can behave. We're both very passionate on this.
We are.
Lord,
Jesus, the offense around us. Okay. No, here's the thing: is like I was thinking about this, where I was like, you and I are kind of like two kids that shouldn't be allowed to sit together in class. We're just like, oh my gosh, don't say it, don't say it. It's like between one of us, somebody's gonna say it, right? And then we're like, oh man. But also, get them. You know what I'm saying? I do want to hear your story.
My ministry journey. What a doozy. So I literally grew up in church. I don't have any memory of not being in church until I'm an adult. Like from core memories existing, church is involved. And I loved growing up in church. I was also homeschooled, so church was a very like, that's where I made friends. It's where my extracurriculars, like dance, whatever. So like I was very active and involved in church, and I've always loved local church community. I grew up in a small, historically Black Baptist church. So there was also just like the tight-knit family aspect of being in a small church environment. That was also generational. So it was my grandparents' church and it was my parents' church. So like I thought, my point is, all churches like family, because that's my only frame of reference. Is a literal family church where like we're all born together, raised together. The kids are like the kind of like, you have like cousins where you take baths together. It's like church members, like we're always together. And I literally, when you go to a church where it's like welcome home and we're family, I'm taking you seriously because this is my frame of reference. Like, yeah, church is family. My dad ended up stepping down from pastoring. We ultimately lost him to suicide. Due to all kinds of things, but the primary thing was ministerial burnout. So
wait, how old were you?
I think I was 19. Yeah, 18, 19. So
I'm really sorry.
That took me on like a detour with ministry because for a while I felt like the church killed my dad. Which you don't have the language, but people like you, thanks to therapy, kind of like fine. But I really wanted nothing to do with church because it was like, all of you are the reason, you know, because my father, like I said, like he was in the streets, always giving, always serving, and he was also really in a deep struggle mentally where he would constantly feel like nobody sees me. And when you're a pastor, that's why I do understand both sides. Like I understand the weight of pastors, but I also understand some harm is actually happening within the pews, and we have to talk about both.
Yes.
But I had beef with the church because he was struggling, and I'm a kid, but you have deacons and other ministers and staff, and no one's helping you lift this weight.
That's right.
But expecting more from you.
That's right.
And when he started trying to take a step back to care for his mental health, now we're judging you, you're falling off, you're not doing. And I understand, like, the church did not kill my dad, but it was hard to, like, separate the two and have sober perspective when your father is dead.
Of
like,
course.
The church killed my dad, and that's the indictment, that's the statement. So I'm my mom's prodigal because I was done with church. And so we ended up moving to Vegas for completely separate reasons, unrelated, to help a friend. And my sister and my mom found a church here, and they were in love with it, and they were going all the time, and I was at home. Like, you guys have a wonderful time.
Yeah.
And so I was not going, and then my sister started going to the young adult ministry at that church, and I said, okay, I will do that on a Wednesday night. It was not in the sanctuary, and they kind of like got me in from there because it was smaller, it's community, it's familiar.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, yeah, I can do this. This feels like home. I'm also from California, SoCal, and the culture shock of the territorial nature here was unfamiliar to me.
Sure.
So when I first got there, I'm like, yeah, this feels like familiar, it's family, it's whatever. And I think I just like the spark lit again. Like, I'm like, I love ministry, I love this, because it felt like that again until I started getting involved in like the bigger parts of church. And how I got back into ministry was also connected to me always wanting to be the hero in people's story. I would go down to the altar of this church every Sunday, and no one would come. Like, there was altar workers, and they would come up, they would pass me every time.
Wow.
Every time. And my thought was, they need more help. So I was like, how do you volunteer to help on the prayer team? Like, I have experience. I had been in ministry in California in my family church. I would love to be a part of the prayer team. So I took the trainings, the things to volunteer. Boom, right into service. Mind you, just lost my dad. Probably shouldn't be doing this.
Wow.
All kinds of things going on, but I'm just like, clearly they need help, because I'm coming down here for prayer and nobody's praying for me, because again, I understand the nuance of church. My brain wasn't to be like offended by them. I was like, they need help. Let me come help you. So I'm like instantly there, and then constantly elevated because experience. I have history. I know the nuances of church ministry. I understand the nuances of like church politics. So it's like prayer team, prophetic team, worship team. Mind you, I have no background in prophetic because I grew up in a Baptist church. I'm like doing all the things, taking all of the like classes in between to get the learning of it, and in my own time trying to Bible study and learn about this stuff in real time to serve in these capacities. And so I'm serving.
This is all for free. You were not staffed.
No, all for free.
Wow.
And I'm just so happy to be here, right?
Yeah.
Because it's changing my life. I'm exposed to this new thing. Holy Spirit. Again, I grew up in a Baptist church where people used to say our church was Baptist-costal. Well, I didn't even know what that meant because I did not grow up in a Pentecostal expression. So I was like, okay, whatever. In hindsight, we probably were not a traditional Baptist church. The Holy Spirit was definitely present. We just didn't have language for that.
Sure.
So the Holy Spirit was familiar to me. I just didn't have language for it.
Yeah.
But this is all new to me. Like, it's so free and flowing, and I'm so happy to serve, so happy to give. And I am giving, I'm on staff now, like everything's just escalating, like boom, 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 because we love it, right? All this free labor, and you're so happy to always be here and always serving. So I end up on staff, I'm working, I'm serving. No actual like training, credentialing, ordination. I don't think I mentioned that. That happened in California. So I did become a licensed ordained minister, went through like all the training stuff when I was in California.
Okay.
But
does that translate, like if you were ordained in California, does it work here too?
So churches and denominations, everyone has their own process procedure.
Okay.
Technically, the Lord calls you to ministry.
There you go.
So being ordained and licensed just means like you went through some form of proving a ministry school, seminary, whatever that looks like for you, theological training. So I got credentialed in the studies of the Bible and to serve the Lord. Okay. So that technically carries everywhere.
Sure.
Most houses of faith have their own proving process. Even if you come in licensed and ordained, you got to go through this process to serve here.
Gotcha.
And in this ministry, that did not happen. It's just like, you could do it.
Yeah.
And I was serving happy, but still very broken because I had a very traumatic thing happen to me, and that wound was never being cared for. So I'm serving around the gaping, bleeding wound.
So you're leading while you bleed.
Yeah, leading while I bleed.
Yeah.
Exhausted because I really need to process this really hard thing that happened to me. In hindsight, I'm not being pastored because there's this admiration of the maturity. You're a pastor's kid.
That's right.
You get it already.
You understand.
You know, and I do get a lot of it, but I really need someone to sit with me.
You need care too.
Yeah, so I'm serving there, and then I burn out there. And transition out to go help plant another campus of the same church.
Okay. And
it's once again smaller, familiar. So I kind of just start the same cycle over and over again. Where I serve. And
I'm curious, with all this serving at this point, still on staff, or it was still for free, and then did you have a job, and what was the pay like?
I have always had a job
Okay.
outside of ministry.
Okay.
I've never worked a ministry job that afforded me to be able to care for myself.
And that's pretty typical, right?
I don't even recall how much I was being paid, but I know it was not a wage to live off of.
Yeah, so you're working a 40-hour work week and doing all this?
Yes.
Wow.
In the beginning, no. I was like 19, 20, and I was still like at my mom's.
Yeah.
She's like paying most of the bills. So it's kind of like whatever I was making for doing ministry stuff was for me to be able to like buy what I want and go do what I want.
Yeah.
Once I was an adult, like a real adult, I had to get a full-time job and still serve during the week. And then when I went to go help with the campus, I was not on staff. So that was just me volunteering and doing all of that for free.
About how many hours do you think when you went and had a full-time job were you also serving?
It's like hard to gauge because it's always like pockets of time. And that's where I think sometimes it gets lost because they're like, you're not even doing that much. It's like, but I was down here on Wednesday and I was down here on Monday and I'm here for like 3 different services on Sunday.
That's right. It's all. You'll get paid in prophetic word and drive-by prayer, okay?
No, it's the jewels in your crown in heaven.
Okay.
I love that theology where it's like all those rewards.
Yeah.
God's gonna remember when you did all those 3 services every Sunday for free?
Stop it.
I was there at 7 a.m. to roughly like 8 p.m.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be a specific jewel in my crown that says, remember.
I can't with you right now.
And I just, it's funny now, because healing, but I was just like, yes, jewels in my crown. I'm so excited to get these jewels later. Never mind, this bill is past due. I'm getting jewels later. Later, I will be rewarded for my labor.
I'm crying. Okay, go on.
So whatever, like maybe like a part-time job would be the equivalent of like working in that ministry.
Wow, so like 20 hours about. Maybe?
Roughly, yeah. I think
so 40, and you were working a full 40 hour.
Full 40 hour.
Wow.
Part-time 20.
Wow.
Maybe less when I went to go help with the church, the campus plant.
Sure.
Because it was a plant, so we weren't doing a lot.
Right.
Significantly less time there.
Yeah. Was there ever any comment about you not serving enough or giving, even though you had?
No, I was like the golden child.
Oh, there you go. The golden child. You would always say yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that also felt so good.
Right.
For someone who deeply like is looking for community and family to be so loved. I'm such a servant.
Yeah.
I have such a servant's heart.
Amen.
I'm just so present.
Yeah.
And ready to give to the community, and I'm really bought into the mission. We love this language. And so I'm the golden child. Everybody loves me. The senior pastor never learned my name, but never mind. Everybody loves me. At this point, my whole family's on staff, knows everyone else, and be like, hi, I'm pastor name. And I'm just like, I literally get like tax returns. Anyway.
Wow. So what is that like for you? Because we got to go into this because I don't think that the church understands how deeply hurtful that is. Because the whole part of church and the body is relationship.
Yeah.
And so, granted, yes, when you have these really big churches, can you know everybody super deeply, intimately? No. But should you be mindful of the people that are actually really pouring into your mission and taking it further? And at least know their name.
I remember we used to have like these conferences and they would be like breakout sessions, and the senior pastor was doing a breakout session. They would put volunteers to be like the teacher's aide assistant. And so the pastor had me introduce myself, and so I introduced myself like, I'm on staff, this is what I do, and he was just like, really? And I was like, yeah, how long have you been here? At this point, like 8 years.
Wow.
I was like, wow. I was just like, yeah, this isn't awkward at all.
Yeah.
But it was deeply hurtful, but then just like things that I learned later after the fact, just that need of the people pleasing, like you said, and wanting to be accepted. It was like, I'm gonna work harder so you know who I am.
Yeah.
I need you to know who I am. And now, like in hindsight, it's like, girl, why? But like at the time, it was like, I need you to know. I need this work to be worth something, you know, in the form of acknowledgement for my work, like you said, to push your ministry forward, which has always been a gift that I've had. Is I'm really good at taking other people's dreams and expanding and growing them. Yeah. You lose sight of your own calling, your own purpose, because I'm always growing and developing your thing.
That's right.
So it was very hurtful to realize I've bought into this mission. I'm pushing this thing forward. I'm inviting friends, coworkers, people on the street to come be a part of this big thing, and you don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
Even context clues, again, at this point, my mother, my sister, my brother-in-law were all on staff.
Wow.
So like, even if you don't know my name, I can at least be this person's daughter. Like, surely you know that. At this point, I'm friends with your kids. I've been in your home, your kids' homes. Like,
wow.
At least context.
Yeah.
Something.
And that, again, that is a very common complaint and hurt that people express, right? Because it's just, again, it's not so much that you want to be known, but you want to be seen. Right? Because that's important. And in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like the very first one is like a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing wrong with wanting that, but you are working a full-time job and basically working there part-time for free,
right?
Or on staff now, but still not enough to be able to do this full-time. Yeah. And there's no awareness of even your name. That's really, really hurtful. And how do pastors do better? How did they do better? Because I know you've been in the leadership position. I'm guessing that, have you been in that position where you don't know people like that?
So a thing that I learned later, like you start with good intentions.
Of course.
Not necessarily applied correctly.
Right.
My mission then became, because I'm in the in crowd and I have access, I'm going to be the replacement.
Wow.
I'm going to make sure I know everybody. I'm going to make sure I'm accessible.
Sure.
So now it's like, they're probably not doing this, but I am. So I didn't do this right, but I still believe a part of the way leadership and even your support leadership is intention. And even like you said, with larger ministries, you're not always going to know everyone's name. You're not going to know everyone's story. That's literally the point of having staff ministry and support ministry, and helps in people to be the hands and feet when you can't always be that. We can't be all things to everyone. But having intention, setting aside an intentional time where you are taking, I don't know, like have an event where you get to know your members, if they are interested in that hand-to-hand connection. Sometimes it's not even in the framework of church structures for those kinds of things, but we have to make room for them, where there is like a family day or like a day where you just come in and it's not about what the mission is and the vision is, just let me just show you who I am. Yeah. Leadership, we have to be more intentional about just creating space to be the body and be the family.
Be, not do.
And get to know each other, including yourself, because who you present to be from a platform versus, and that really also helps people. I don't want to be helpful so I say goodbye into the mission, but like if you actually want people to rally around what you believe God's calling you to do in the city or in your region, they have to know who you are at your core and why I should align myself. Intention needs to be for community. But also the part of how you have healthy community is showing people who you actually are. Yeah. And allow them to decide if they actually want to align themselves with who you actually are.
That's good. I think that is a beautiful tip for pastors and people to do. My question also is, you mentioned people want to know who you are. Now, I think that sometimes, and I don't know if you can speak to this or not, is there like what version of themselves they need to be? Do they need to be the pastoral version of themselves, or do they need to just be themselves? And have you had a struggle of like, how much of myself can I be? Because here's what I will say, and I do content creation. I really try to I share my life online, and I'm not just therapist, I'm just Gabby. I think when I went to school as a therapist, I went for my own healing journey, to be honest. And I was
Yeah.
like, and if I am able to help people along the way, great.
Yeah.
And then I really feel like having a therapy degree, it kind of put me up here so that I could actually get an aerial view of what was going on with everybody, but it made me disconnected from everybody.
Yeah.
And so what I ended up having to learn was how to actually be with people
Yeah.
and kind of, you know, put obviously I'm going to always have a deeper awareness and deeper emotional intelligence just because of my training.
Yeah.
But being Gabby and sharing my story is what actually I think is healing. So I have seen that pastors have struggled with that of like, what version of myself can I be with these people? And so I'm just curious.
It's such a fine line that I'm still trying to, I'll never master, but at least get better at, and always progressively trying to grow in this area.
Yeah.
Because what I found in the same experience of ministry followed all the way into when I started pastoring myself at a different ministry. When I first came to this church, everyone loved me. Jessica, she's so real. She tells it like it is. I remember I sat at a like women's group table and I just started talking about my assault as a child. My dad died by suicide. Like, I've always just been like, I'm gonna just tell you what it is, what it ain't. This is what the Lord is doing in my life.
Amen, yeah.
Because I feel like that's the testimony. If you see anything good in me and you hear where I've come from,
that's right.
This is what the Lord has done.
Amen, yeah.
And it's more important for you to know that versus like, I've been in theology and I studied systematic theology and urban apologetics and like, that's nice. We'll find that out later.
Sorry, bro.
You need to know that I have like crippling depression and anxiety disorder. I take this type of medication. Like that's always been like how I approach ministry life. I'm very forthright. I'll tell you, I talk to that lady every other Tuesday, therapist. I'm gonna go talk to her. Always. And that was championed until I became in leadership.
Wow.
Then the advice was like, tone that down.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm like, the same people that were championing like how forthright I was.
Yes.
That even appealed to draw me in and give me platform, let me speak on microphones, let me lead community groups.
Wow.
Then it was like, well, now, you know, people need to be able to, you know, understand there's a difference. You know, there can't be all of this familiarity and then people won't respect you. And I've always been conflicted with this messaging. It's like, what do you do? Because I'm not the leader. I submit to leadership. So there was like this constant chipping away at my humanity. To where then I had to learn like platform Jessica and then off platform Jessica. And I didn't really like that. It's called double-mindedness and it kind of creates this instability.
It's a split. It's a split in your persona, right? Because it's just like, is this public versus private? It creates fragmented identity.
There's so many fragments and you're just so broken up into so many different pieces of people. And that carried into how I approached pastoring, which created so much exhaustion because I never felt safe to just be ever. And so to answer the question, my right now belief that I'm still learning like to what extent, because I am good for an overshare, because I like to share, you know? And I know like within reason, Jessica, yours not a safe space. Like I really don't care. You can know whatever you know about me, but I'm learning
that part,
spaces and places. You know? But I do believe that leadership has a responsibility when we look at the gospel to present their life as it is. For multiple reasons. The main one, if we're gonna do life as a family, truth has to be present here.
That part.
And who you are, like if I'm dating you and you pretend to be, which I mean I did that, I got married on accident. You pretend to be one person and I say yes to engagement and marry this person that you presented to be and then you become a different person later, the heartbreak, the betrayal, it's no different in church. If you're presenting to me one person from a platform and I join this church on the basis of who you presented to be, and then as I start to volunteer and then I get closer, I had a pastor one time tell me, proximity protects perspective, which I was like, such an interesting statement. And that was how they were discipling this whole fragmented personality thing, is the closer people get, their perspective of you changes. And that is true to a point, but it shouldn't be the closer I get, you're a completely different person.
That's right.
I can see you from a deeper place, from a more like personal, transparent place, but you should not become the closer I get, you're a totally different human being. From over here, you looked like an angel, and now I'm looking at you and it's a full raging demon. Like, those are two different conversations.
Right.
And I think sometimes we create nuance that's harmful when we're like, oh, you know, people need to respect you, so you need to not let them know too much about you personally. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing life with the people that are committing to do life with you.
That part.
You're asking for them to lend their time, their life, their resources to you. You do owe them
That part.
a level of relationship. And I'm not saying you owe them everything. Keep your business. Everyone should have boundaries, okay?
Yeah.
You understand that.
Yeah.
But I do think, especially as leadership, if you're asking me to buy into something, you're asking me to partner with something, I'm owed. People are like, I don't owe them. You do actually owe the community
That's right.
a level, especially if you're expecting it from them.
That's right. How many other places could they go to?
Yes.
So if I'm choosing to be here, tell me why.
Tell me why, and it needs to be this, like, the story can't change when you're off the platform.
That part.
This is why from up here.
That's
but
right.
down here, I'm a totally different person.
That's right.
And then also, like, I've been in environments where leadership, when you're on leadership voluntarily or on staff, they're like micromanaging what you post, what you say, what you do.
Censoring.
And if you're going to want to be this involved in my personal life, and what I say, what I do, the same should be
That part.
accessible to what you say, what you do, how you behave.
That's right.
And that it's very much the power dynamic is very imbalanced.
That's
where
right.
It's like, I want you to take that down. It's like, well, I didn't like what you said on the pulpit the other day.
I didn't like that you did a sermon clap back at me.
Right.
And not talk to me directly.
I actually went and opened my Bible, and I feel like that was out of context.
Yeah.
So if you could retract that, you know, and so
just publicly apologize.
I understand the sentiment of wanting to protect, especially because I grew up as a PK. I understand the fishbowl.
Yep.
There's unnecessary expectations.
Yep.
I unfortunately experienced very traumatic sexual assault as a young child, so I had rage, like just very angry kid.
Was this within the church?
Yes, unfortunately, a youth pastor. So when I was young,
gosh.
and so not at my church, at a friend's church, I was a very angry kid is the point. And the narrative for a lot of church people was just like, she's rude, she's this, and like you have no idea what this poor child is navigating and like the hard concepts she's trying to reconcile. I also grew up in purity culture.
Yep.
So like the chaos of trying to reconcile what this meant for my purity, like I had a lot going on in an 11-year-old brain, okay?
Wow.
So I had all of these like people looking at me and judging me, so I understand wanting to protect, you know, as a pastor, your family, your things, but not to be so guarded to where I could be at this church for decades and never know you people.
That's right.
I still don't know who you are. I still don't know where you stand.
Yeah.
Politically, socially, I don't know what you actually believe because you don't talk about anything of substance about your life or otherwise. Like, it's always just been like this really cute down the middle road perspective. Always, even if I find that I don't agree with you politically, I still want to know, what do you believe? You know?
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, we don't talk about that. Like, we should know.
Right. Well, and I think that, like, as you talk about that, how unhealthy it is for people in those positions, because what happens is either people are living double lives, right? So they're performing ministry.
Yeah.
And then they go over here and they're like taking the ministry hat off and they're going and doing crazy stuff. Like, you know, we have people being exposed now, right? Like we just Sean Bowles, like all these different people that are in these leadership roles that maybe have no real accountability or they're not doing real life with people who actually can like call you out and call you up and say, hey, what is this? You know, let's talk about this. I'm concerned for you. Yeah. And so then, unfortunately, when people don't have those real relationships with people showing mirrors, then these people actually are not really actually integrous. I know you mentioned something, cover-up culture. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, it's actually what I was thinking as you were sharing that. And it's interesting because I'll fall on the sword myself as a leader. So when I moved to Vegas, I was always a part of one ministry for a decade. Yeah. And then in that time, I was at the altar praying and I had a vision of a different person, a different ministry I'd never seen, never heard of before in my life. And so I looked it up, went and attended. Long story short, I joined that ministry because I felt like God was calling me to join that ministry. Okay. Why else would he show me this person? You know, like I'm called to be there. And I ultimately ended up being on leadership there and becoming the assistant pastor there. And this is where I got drunk. It's about like pointing the fingers at other people. Like where I missed it also is the covering up and cover up culture. I am by nature in office, not just titles and giving people weird titles. I'm a pastor by nature. I care about the souls of people, the journey. I want to do life with you. I want to help you develop and grow. I'm all about that. I want to get in the mess. I want to come crawl in the pit and sit with you in it. Love all of that stuff. Like, well, yes, let's do it. So I'm a pastor in office, and at my core, that's who I am. And I'm also very like an empath. So I always can see the why you're doing the things you're doing.
Yeah.
And what caused that. And also, you know, just like with my own abuse, like I can relate. And so when you see the brokenness in people.
Sure.
And the humanity, because also all these people are just humans. We're all sons and daughters. We're all figuring it out. I also was a PK. So it's always like now I understand justifying very harmful behavior because I get what you're going through, what you're probably navigating, when that can be true, but more than one thing can be true. I understand why you're harming people and where that comes from, and I really didn't do a good job of naming and calling out harmful things, and I didn't understand that was me being complicit in cover-up culture.
That's right.
And even that was so, like, the disillusionment. I went through the ringer over the last year and a half because I sat with the Lord, and he was kind of just like, we got to deal with some stuff, and you got to repent, because I left hurt. I got hurt.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand, like, okay, we understand you got hurt, but you hurt a lot of people, not necessarily because you, like, took the knife and stabbed them, but you watched it happen, and you went, like, don't look at that.
Yeah.
I can explain why they do that. It's okay. Let me just explain. And so I realized, because even in the previous ministry that was present there too, there's this just really volatile understanding of what grace actually looks like in real time, and mercy, and how it's extended for people of status and title. And we should all just understand that they're human, and not as much grace for the people in the pews. You got one time.
That's right.
Make me upset one time. Get this wrong one time.
That's right.
You're sat down.
That's right.
And you can't serve anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why does this not extend? But then the leaders and the prophet and the apostle and the elder, you don't understand the weight and what they're under and what they're navigating. And again, I'm like laughing at myself because I was that person trying to sit with you. I understand that they did this to you and yelled at you and just treated you this way, but let me explain to you how hard it is for us to serve all of you, ungrateful people. You know, and I really felt justified in that nonsense until, like, oh, how the turntables.
Woo.
And now I'm a pastor.
Yep.
And this behavior is being directed at me.
That's right.
And now it's like,
yeah.
I remember I posted, talking about my Facebook rants one time, this lady messaged me, she was so annoyed. Because I'm willing to call myself out.
Yeah.
I realized in the place of prayer, the Lord was like, your offense is rooted in you don't understand why your grace has run out.
Ooh.
And why, like, the covering for you is no longer enough.
Come on.
Because I had internalized being discipled in this type of cover-up culture.
That's right.
That we can do whatever we want.
Wow.
I can live however I want. And God's going to cover me because touch not thine anointed.
Ooh.
And of course, if you ask me that directly, I'd be like, no, I don't believe that. That's absurd. But my actions and my behavior would suggest this is how I believe.
That's right.
So when I am out on my butt, now I'm just like, God, what's happening? He's like, literally, you reap what you sow.
That's
like, that applies for you too.
So true.
Directly and indirectly. You can say, like, I didn't do it, but you knew about it, bro.
That part.
And you didn't say anything. You didn't do anything. And I can say for me, I was a part of a lot of things. From when I first started in ministry to when I left my pastorate completely, I've seen a lot, I've known a lot, and said nothing.
Wow.
And you're a part, I'm a part. I would cry because when the Lord made me aware of that, I was just like, well, the people who've left church, the people who are offended and probably will never go back to church, like, I'm complicit in that.
That's right.
And I have to repent. Even if I didn't directly do it, it's the fact that I didn't do anything about it or say something, warn people. It's such a, I always, because I work in, like, the legal field, I'm always like, it's the plausible deniability of it all.
Constant.
It's constantly just like the thing with me when I finally we had, like, our come to Jesus meeting where I left my pastorate. The statement was, you should have just said something. If the ministry was, because I was, also mistakes you make. Pastors get it wrong. Yeah. What I started trying to do was, like, one-on-one warn people that this place is unhealthy, because I didn't have the courage to confront the person head on. So behind their back, I was like, hey, this is toxic. hey, this is toxic.
Hey,
this is toxic.
Yeah.
So of course it gets back to him. So now I'm on a Zoom and I'm getting fired because you are telling the truth here.
Yeah.
We can't have that. But the thing was, you should have just told me. You should have just come to me. And it's like, we all know this environment is not conducive to the truth.
Yeah.
And if I would have said, hey, I feel like you are being emotionally manipulative, spiritually manipulative, and abusive, how would that conversation have gone?
Right.
And we know that. But it's true, I should have still done that. But even though I knew it wasn't going to be fruitful, I should have done it anyway. I understand that. But it's just crazy because when he said that, it was like so tricky. He's like, you should have just said what you saw. And it's like, but you know the environment that you created that doesn't allow that.
Mm-hmm.
It allows the constant covering and covering. As long as we all agree with you and we all say yes and we all smile, even if we know everything's on fire. Again, I can only talk about myself and what I have done and what I have repented before the Lord for.
Yeah.
Where I've sat with people, acknowledged that harm was done, repented on behalf of the amount of ministry leaders and people I've apologized. As a minister, I'm sorry for all ministers, and just said, can you stick it out anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Versus just letting them go.
That part. I appreciate your honesty, your vulnerability. It takes a lot of courage to admit that, right? And I would say that complicit abuse, people have no idea how much the silence, right? Because in those environments, silence is rewarded. Yes. There's a lot of things on the line if you were to speak up and say something like, hey, that's not okay. This person is doing X, Y, Z.
Right.
And if, like, I don't know, there's always like signs of like, why are people leaving the church because of this one particular person? It always ends up being this one particular person that everybody's got a problem with, right? It's spiritual warfare, whatever, right? Right? They're offended. And it's just like, how come we don't ever hold these leaders accountable?
Yeah.
And I think that that's a big problem with like cover up culture is the church and the system, it's designed to protect the leadership and not the people.
Yes. I'm
a type of person where I'm going to come to you and I'm going to talk to you directly because I genuinely care.
Yeah.
Hey, can we talk about this? Maybe not always like perfectly. I know I recently went through a space where I was trying to communicate things about my concerns and things like that, and it was not received well at all. We do this because we love.
Yeah.
We do this because we love and we want to see you be better and do better in Jesus' name. Because at the end of the day, we're all called to mature as believers, right? And so it's just like there should be no shame in that, right? Even in the conversation, I'm like, I'm not trying to shame you. Look, I'm a PK. I get it. And I'm open about I'm very much like you. I'm very open. I will take accountability.
Right.
You could tell me I'm wrong. I'd rather you tell me though than give me the silent treatment. And that's what ends up happening is the silent treatment. Everybody stops talking to you. Yeah. The minute that you raise a concern, she's just too difficult. You stop getting invites or the invites never come. Yeah. You don't get scheduled anymore on, Teams.
Right.
You can tell that people are moving a little weird around you.
Yes.
And
so no one wants to say anything directly.
Nobody says anything, but you can tell.
Yeah.
I do specialize in narcissistic and spiritual abuse. Narcissism is being more worried about what other people think about you than what God thinks about you.
Right.
Because just like you had to repent, thank God you did that, right? When we go to heaven one day, we are going to have to give an account for every single thing that we did.
Yes.
Why did you stay silent when you know that person got hurt?
Right.
Why did you try to continually keep this person here when you knew you should have just let him go?
Yeah.
Where in the Bible is this behavior justified?
Yeah.
And so it makes me think about how, unfortunately, when we think about Christianity and theology, it's not only about theology that we need to be thinking about, we need to be thinking about psychology.
Oh, absolutely.
And what you talk a lot about, you have a lot of trauma history that you brought into the church, that you're almost primed for these types of on fire environments.
Yes.
You also had your own deep need of wanting to be needed and wanting to be helpful and wanting to be the hero, right? There's a lot of things that people that come into these environments that they haven't examined, right? They haven't examined like, well, I have a deep need to want to be accepted, or we want to be peacekeepers, but we are not called to be peacekeepers. We're called to be peacemakers.
Correct.
And what Jesus did to make peace, he flipped over tables. To make peace, he was actually telling them, for those of you who have not sinned, go ahead and cast the first stone.
Correct.
Peacemaking is actually confrontational.
1000%.
And that alone, I think, is what I don't see in a lot of church environments.
And we're just discipled in a way. it's just it's like I said, it's the psychology and the theology, and they both have to exist. Because even I think when you talk about peace, Jeremiah, where I think it's 6, where they say, you say peace, peace, and there is no peace. It's just literally, that scripture in itself is talking about cover-up culture and talking about how we just say like, shh, peace.
Yeah.
As long as we keep saying it, there's peace here. It's like, no, there actually is no peace. And we have to allow people who are professionally trained, trauma informed, to partner with some of us who have like the theological perspective to really get to the point of how do we get peace. And a lot of that is tackling head on some of these root systematic issues that affect the way we are like discipled and reared in our homes. The core belief systems that you come in with, your own bias, things, trauma that you like. I brought all kinds of junk,
right,
with the best intentions.
That hurt. That's right.
I just remembered right now talking about this. I remember I was in some kind of like leadership meeting, and they were kind of asking like, "What's your why?" kind of thing. And I said, in hindsight now, with a lot of therapy later, and now I help people ground themselves with mindfulness. I said, I like being a safe space for people because I never felt safe.
Wow.
And it's like now, trauma informed, I'm like, that was a big red flag. And someone there should have been like, hey, can we talk?
Yeah.
Because that's beautiful that you want to do that.
Yeah.
But I cried. Like, this is me screaming from the inside out.
Yeah.
My why of ministry is that I want to be safe for people because I've never felt safe.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that some more, you know?
Right.
And unfortunately, there's not a lot of people in leadership who are trauma informed
at all.
To hear that, what they were just like, oh, deep, amen, sister.
That's right.
A trauma informed person, the antenna would have been like,
that's right. That was me though. That was me when I would hear certain things. I'm like, I'm concerned. In a loving way, right?
Yeah,
in a loving way.
That's beautiful that you said that, but that, in hindsight, I'm like, why did they let me just keep serving?
Yeah.
That was crazy.
But a big part of it, though, it is the culture, though, the culture. Because it starts from the head down. If the pastor is not healthy, right? I like to say that we often, our nervous systems are set at a certain thermostat. Yeah. So if you grew up in a home where the thermostat was set at 90 degrees, that's what you're used to. So you're going to now attract other environments that are 90 degrees because it's not necessarily healthy, but it's familiar. So I'm going to go over here. I'm serving this environment over here. It's 90 degrees. Everything's on fire. I'm used to this. I like to help. I'm going to jump right in, right? Yeah. And I mean, you're throwing a bunch of things, and then of course you want to be liked, and so you're never going to say no. And then it doesn't matter that my family I don't ever see my family anymore, but I'm going to keep doing because I want you to like me, you know? I want to, I'm a team player. Right. And you do all these things, and again, the pastor's juggling a million things as well, but if their thermostat is set at 90 degrees and you bring something to them, they're going to say, what's the problem? You know, like, because they themselves are not healthy or regulated. Yeah. And whoever the leader is, you plug into the leader, right? Yeah. It's attachment and attunement. Yeah. So when people come to a leader, the leader should be very regulated, very present. Now, granted, should is a great way to say it. Wouldn't it be lovely if everybody was always regulated and all that? We are also humans, but the pastor needs to be very self-aware of what's going on and communicative of my limits, my boundaries, where I'm at, what I need, where, what you can expect from me, and then also following through and following up, not just bouncing because you're out, and you can't do it anymore and abandoning people. I really think that those are a lot of skills that a lot of pastors are not trained in. And it's not that they are bad or wrong. I think even too, depending on the church and things like that, pastors have an unrealistic amount of just responsibilities. You can go from budgets to boardrooms to now having to, have relational skills with people. I mean, you're constantly on. And so I have a lot of compassion for pastors and leaders. So this is not meant to knock them. I see you and I want to know that you're taking care of you. And are you in a space where you can actually set boundaries? Because that's what I realized was when I started, I was a little too healthy, I think, going in that system. Because I was setting boundaries. I need you to respect my time. Well, we don't like that. I have a full-time job. Yeah. And I'm coming to serve. But I've never been the person though that was like so involved in ministry like that. So like I said, I've always kind of had the one foot in, one foot out. always been about the church,
Yeah.
but I also do full-time ministry with my work, right?
Yes,
and so I think that a lot of times when people are kind of, dive so much into the ministry, that's all they see.
Yeah.
To be more balanced.
Yeah.
And then also realizing, also have other priorities. My life is not the church. My life
Right.
is, I have family, I have friends, I have hobbies. Like, can you have a full life outside of just, trying to do ministry all the time?
Yeah, that was one of again, I learned so much about me. As people always think like, oh, when you leave from like an abusive church environment, and I think, well, sometimes it is people just pointing fingers and blaming everyone. With me and the Lord, it was all just me learning about myself.
That's exactly right.
I learned so much about me when
Yeah.
I left my pastorate and realized I'm probably for the foreseeable future not doing any like structured church, like staff pastoring ever again.
Yep.
If I have anything to say about it.
Yeah.
I realized that was the first time in my existence, 34 years of my life, I was not connected to and working for a structured church system.
Yeah.
And I genuinely didn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
Because so much of my identity was wrapped around, I'm the church girl.
Yeah.
I do church.
Yeah.
And I immediately felt like I had to find a new church. I got to plug in because this is what I do. And so when I really felt like the Lord was telling me, like, actually, sit down.
Yes.
And
we got the sit your butt down anointing.
Sit down
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
And that was it was disorienting for me because that's all I've ever known.
Right.
I thought I had to immediately join a different church, get plugged in, not necessarily become a leader. Like, I think I knew that at the onset. I didn't need to volunteer to be a leader, but I felt like I had to join, like, quickly. I need to align myself with the church, but I think it's also just what you're taught because churches benefit from you joining their churches. That if you're not a part of a church, like, you're doing something wrong and you aren't growing. And so I just had all of this internalized pressure for myself to find another church. And then every time I tried, unfortunately, people would see me in the crowd and be like, oh, Pastor Jessica, are you going to come here? Are you going to join here now? And I'm like, no, I just wanted to worship and receive the word.
Yeah.
And, I've had people call me like, oh, God said, come visit my church. And so then the distrust is happening because I don't even feel safe to heal anywhere.
That's right.
Because I can't go to church without the pressure of worrying about, are you going to try to get me to join your church or serve your church or grow your church in the way I did for these other ministries? And so I really just was like, I really feel like God's just telling me, like you said, sit down ministry, to sit down. And I went to a trusted pastor in the city and I said, this is what I believe God's saying. And she said, I discerned that as well. I thought this is what God's saying. You should sit down and take a beat. And I really went through a lot of disillusionment in that season because I always say, like, you're so ruined. Once you see the truth, Scripture talks about you know the truth and it'll set you free. We don't really talk about, like, how ugly the process of freedom actually is. When I could see my own places where I was complicit and my own role in harm and how other people have harmed me, harmed others, and then just the system of how my counterparts of pastors, apostles, teachers, were getting it wrong. I didn't need to be in a local church. I needed to sit with that and really take some time to heal, repent, forgive myself. Because then it was like, how could you do that to people? How did I thought I was serving people. I thought I was helping people, and I'm perpetuating harm. I'm probably the reason why some of you have left the faith, or at least I contributed to it, and I needed that time and that space to process all of that. And I used to tell pastors when they would reach out to me, because I always respect direct communication. I did have people reach out to me like, hey, I saw what you did over there. We're struggling. We need help. I think you'd be a really good asset to our community. At least just say that to me. Don't prophesy. Don't manipulate me. Say that God told you. Yep. And I was able, for those people, their honesty, to be honest with them in return and say, you don't want me serving in your church right now. Yeah. The things I'm trying to process and reconcile, this is an ugly process, and I need to be over here. Yeah. Like, I went through just so many. It was a roller coaster. I'm mad at me. My therapist always says, like, the thing with resentment is I'm mad at you and I'm mad at myself because you did these things, but now I'm also upset with myself because I let you do these things. That's right. And that tug of war was so gruesome. Yes. I needed to sit down and really do that tug of war because it had to happen. Right. Because for everything I realized that was done to me, I also realized where I was complicit in my own harm and how I created space for you to continue to harm me? Like, did you come in here and stab me? Yes. Did I open the door and say, come on in with this knife? Like, yes.
Yeah.
And you need time to sit and reconcile all of that. And
Yeah.
I didn't need to be serving
Right.
in between all of that, which had been my history in ministry. Was I was always serving while navigating. That's not to say like you won't be processing hard things, but there are also seasons where you cannot do both.
That's right.
And there were many seasons where I should not have been doing both.
That's right.
A lot more seasons where I should not have been doing both. There were seasons where I needed to probably take a break, and they were just like, I really respect your ability to push through. And it's like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, thank you, I know I'm so strong. Like, no, I really needed someone to see, you need to rest, you need to recalibrate, recover.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish that was a language that was more common in the church. We really have done a disservice to long suffering and what that actually looks like.
No,
it's not the same thing that we always teach people.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you sharing all of that.
Yeah.
I know that it's not easy to like openly share those kinds of things because, you know, just to even admit the harm that you, you know, did to others, the harm that you know, saw but didn't say anything about.
Yeah.
And then I love though that you also were healthy enough to say, I am not okay right now.
No.
I am not okay. You do not want me around.
No.
I promise you that you don't want me around. And we just found out we go to the same church night service, but I'm not involved.
Yeah.
I'm not involved.
Yeah.
I do have a ministry that I do. It's great, and I really feel comfortable that like when I'm feeling something, I'm gonna let them know. I'm not in the headspace right now. I'm gonna let you know. Because that's a healthy person who's able to communicate where you're at. Unfortunately, in spaces like what you're talking about, when you're in leadership, there's this pressure to just make it happen. Just keep going. And you continually are just abandoning yourself and your needs. And if that's continually happening, you can't acknowledge when other people are not healthy or well. You're just constantly setting out a bunch of fires, and your nervous system is in fight, flight, freeze. Constantly, right? There's no way that you're able to really process everything that's coming at you constantly. Like I think of it as like being like a war zone, right? And it shouldn't be like that. Ministry shouldn't, but unfortunately, if we're not trained, if we're not giving people the proper tools, if we're not having a realistic system in place supporting the people who are on staff, like I really think there should be somebody assigned to support just the staff alone. Because something that I've also seen is like there are people on staff that like are all having similar experiences but don't talk to each other about it because there's fear of losing your job, like, you know, whatever can happen. And I'm like, this is not okay that your job should feel safe. This is a ministry, right? But unfortunately that is what's happening. I love that you decided to take that sit down. And I similarly, my spiritual mom who also told me, hey Gabby, like you might need to just unplug from religious systems right now as I re-regulate my nervous system, because I noticed that I was kind of yo-yoing back and forth between different systems. I mean, I went from like a very charismatic prophetic culture to a different kind of more quiet culture and more not expressive at all. So I felt like I was too loud, too much, like, and you know, as I'm sharing their emotions, they just didn't know what to do. They're like, we don't know how to help her, you know? And I'm like, give me a hug. Tell me I'm not crazy, you know? And so I felt like it was just a really, my nervous system was shot. And like you said, we're not helpful if we're going into other people's ministries. And like I said, I work with a lot of people who overcome church hurt. And here's the thing is like, it's okay to have a season where you're just sitting and just you and God and wise counsel, right? Therapy. You mentioned you had some wise counsel leaders to just sit with you in that place. Because one thing that I would see was when people would get church hurt, they would then go to another church. Or all the church hurt people would hang out together and they would trauma bond over their church hurt. So unhealthy.
It's not good.
It's unhealthy and it's not okay. It's not what we need to do. Your experience is valid. And you need to also then take accountability and responsibility for your own healing and growth. So the victim mindset is, why did they treat me like that? But the victor mindset is, well, why did I choose to stay? And that's where you actually take responsibility for your own healing and growth. And it's a very scary. A lot of people are afraid to actually have to sit and ask those types of questions because your whole life would change, right? You mentioned your whole identity had to change.
I was like, who even am I?
If you're not serving, if you're not doing all these things, who even am I, right? And so I love though that you leaned into that. And sometimes he'll let you burn out.
Yeah.
He'll let you get to that place.
It has to happen
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
No, I with mindfulness principles we talk about forward moving thoughts because like you said, victim mentalities, all these things happen and that's valid, but also the only way you stop giving those abusers or people that have harmed you power, the only way you can take control is what you can control.
That's
I can't make them not be who they are and to stop doing what they're doing.
Right.
I can address the behaviors that I have, the patterns that I have that attract this type of behavior.
That's right.
Why I'm drawn to these types of things.
That's
why
right.
I'm codependent. That's how you take your control back.
That's right.
And that's why for me in those seasons where I sat it out and I was not, it is funny that we're both going to the same church, I had no idea, but I for so long was not going to church at all, and in that time it was just me figuring out like, yes, all of these things happened to me. And in a lot of ways, there were pastors and leaders who did fail me. Those are facts. But also, more than one thing can be true.
Yes.
There's a lot going on with me, with people pleasing and codependency and a lot of trauma that has created these needs inside of me, anxious attachment style. Like, there's so much going on with me that I need to get a grip on before I'm safe to do life with people.
That's right.
Because it's not even just, so much I learned about myself. How manipulative I was being without realizing I was being manipulative, because whatever I need to be and do for you to accept me and embrace me and love me and think that I'm the best person ever, like all of that's so manipulative. And it's coming from a place of hurt, but like you have to figure out how to be okay with just showing up as you are and letting people, when I talked to that lady every other week, she would tell me in that season when I wasn't going to church, I was just talking to that lady, she was just like, people, if you're going to have real relationships, they need to know who you are. We talked about that with pastors. But sometimes it's even just allowing yourself to be the mess that you are.
That's right.
To let people have informed decisions if they want to do life with you in all of your mess.
That's true.
And I was like, I have to go back to church and serve and do, and I needed to sit and take a beat and not do all of that so that I could get that control back to be able to come back and say, like, I'm not in a place. Like you said, how much healthier would we be as a church if we could say, hey, today's not the day that I need to be praying for people.
That's right.
I'm not in a good headspace. But the old version of me, I never would have felt safe enough and confident enough in myself to admit that to people. Or, hey, I should not be singing on the worship team today. For who knows why. We're all on a journey. If it's sin that you're processing, if it's things, like we need to be able to say, and sometimes we feel that need to power through and to push through and to keep going. But it's so necessary to know when to take a break so that you can build that self-awareness.
That's right.
Recalibrate and heal that my nervous system was shot by the time all of that was done, which was a part of when I was trying to immediately go back to church. A part of the problem, church was triggering. I would try to go to church, the music felt too loud, the pastor preaching, everything just felt like too much. And
overstimulated.
Like, they weren't doing anything wrong. I was overstimulated because I just couldn't. And I was such a pessimist by then. Now I'm questioning as they're talking, like, do you even believe what you're saying? What is your private life like? I just was like, so who even are you? All of you are lying. Like, I was just going through it. To where it's like not even fair to these churches. It's probably a lovely church. And they're not doing anything to me. My nervous system is shot, and I needed that space, like you said, to sit down and really regulate myself and be able even to sit in the discomfort. We want so badly to, like, in the church, push past. They said sorry, they repented, they said sorry. Like,
or sometimes they don't even say sorry. You're just supposed to
sometimes they don't say sorry.
They're human. Give them grace.
Unforgiveness. You don't need to hold on to it. I said unforgiveness.
Just give them grace. They're not asking for it because they're just going through so much.
Now you're wrong because you haven't forgiven, and you need to forgive.
And you're offended.
Whether they say sorry or not. There's a book on offense that I have an opinion, but it's...
What is it, The Bait of Satan? Oh!
It's okay. I think it's a good book. I just think it's also sometimes patterns. I notice patterns. A lot of churches I've worked for, it's like a textbook that I think sometimes gets weaponized, where it's like, I'm going to teach you that whatever I do, you can't be offended by me.
Wow.
And I didn't realize that until I was like in my 4th round of this becoming like a monthly Bible study. And I'm like, why? Every year or every couple of months do we have to learn this book?
Interesting.
It's a nice book.
Don't get offended. My show and stuff like that, you probably will get offended, and I'm not sorry. Because you know what? The gospel, we are called to be the salt and light of the world, and salt actually disinfects. So I do think that you should be offended sometimes. but may that offense actually do something good in you, right? May that offense actually move you towards action. May that do a little bit of, hey, maybe I need to self-reflect a little bit. Dang, like I didn't realize that's how to breathe. Do something good with those emotions, right?
It's necessary. And again, it's an indicator that we're not doing real life together. If offenses never come, I'm always like remembering weird things, like context clues that I wish I would have seen in real time. I was described as to what it was like to do ministry with me. The person said, we never disagree. She always agrees. And then I'm like, why would I? There's no way. As much as I love people, some of my best friends, we disagree.
Yeah.
Like there's no way we always agree.
Because if everybody's always agreeing, then that means that people are not being honest.
Right.
We're allowed to have different opinions, but the thing is how we are able to keep those relationships going is being able to rupture and repair.
Yes.
And I think what happens is like if you're not able to be honest and the other person can't like take that rupture and then also repair, but the repair is accountability, saying I'm really sorry, whatever that is, like really truly they themselves have really taken that into effect. It's just swept under the rug. And again, we handle conflict based on our childhoods and things. You know, I grew up in a home where my mom, there'd be a lot of conflict going on. You know, she would do all kinds of stuff, and she'd be in a mood. Yeah. And she would also do silent treatments and things like that if she was in a mood. And then, like, whenever she decided that she was good, she would just reappear all good to go. Oh, you're good. You're good. Because you just gave me the silent treatment for however long, and now I'm supposed to just be okay with that. That's abusive. Yeah. Right? And I think that those are the types of things that I see sometimes in church environments, and we don't want to talk about it. So avoidance, but avoidance is not accountability. That's very hurtful to, you know, keep people in the dark. And then when you decide you're good, now all of a sudden we're like,
everything's fine.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, when are you going to like get mad at me again though? Because you know,
for how long?
Right.
And the anxiety that creates is like, okay, I'm back on good terms with leadership. I'm back on good terms with my team. For how long?
Don't let me mess it up again.
Until I do something wrong again.
Right.
You know.
And there's a part in your brain. It's called the anterior cingulate. The only time it lights up is if you're experiencing hunger, thirst, or social rejection.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, when someone removes their love, removes their attention, it's as scary as feeling like you're dying of hunger or thirst.
Wow.
Social rejection is like one of the worst things. And so that's why, again, at the underlying core of church culture, I want to be rejected.
Yeah.
So tell me what I got to do to be lovable. Tell me what I got to do to belong, right? You don't like this part of me, I'll hide it, right? You don't like I won't do it, right? And I think that's what's really hurtful in those spaces is you should be loved as you are, your messy self. At the end of the day, we have to create safe spaces to be able to show up however we are. And not to say that, you know, again, we shouldn't be leading while we bleed and things like that.
Yeah,
you know,
we're always in process.
Right. But I do think that allowing the emotional process to be a part of that is needed.
It's vital. It's not the whole, I'll hide it, I'll do whatever I need to do. It's also not conducive. This is a house of faith. We're supposed to talk about salvation and the process of sanctification, deliverance, freedom. Those things aren't conducive to that type of environment and behavior. Because I would tell people all the time, because I'll meet people who have very rigid, because they learned in religion, I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do this. And sometimes it's just cultural. Like your church didn't think that listening to secular music is holy, so I only listen to gospel music. And I would tell people, I'm not saying go expose yourself to all kinds of sin, but I do think when we live in these very like high restrictive lifestyles, you don't actually know if you are truly free because you're not exposing yourself to testing.
So good.
And a lot of times it's just avoidance.
Yes.
And a lot of suppression.
Yes.
And if you were actually in an environment where this is before you, you have not developed fruit of self-control.
There you go.
You don't have the discipline.
Nope.
You don't have the willpower, let alone like emotional healing and all of these places of self-awareness. You don't have these foundational things in your faith. Because I have created such a restricted, if I only sit in my house and never come outside, sure, I'm the holiest person ever. Yeah. Because I'm not around people that can piss me off or I can cuss them out. I'm not over here with people, these men are reproaching me, trying to take me home. Like, you're not putting yourself in environments But it's the same thing even just in emotion and truth. If I'm not able to be myself fully, to do life with each other, to let iron sharpen iron, I can't even let my family of faith and my friends see parts of me that they can help me grow in and develop in.
Right.
And say like, hey, I've been there. Can I just share my testimony and how I process this? I noticed I had someone who told me before, because I'm a very funny girl. Impeccable timing.
You are very funny.
I'm very funny. But I had someone tell me one time, because they were able to see me because we were doing real life, she's like, I noticed sometimes you hide behind your humor. Like I can tell like when you're hurting.
Yeah.
But you just, and also it's the thing with trauma. Like, was I traumatized or am I funny? It's both.
Right.
You know?
It's the trauma.
It's both.
Yeah.
And something you could tell, like I'm telling a very traumatic thing, I'm just like, ha ha ha. There's like, there was no punchline.
Right.
You're just saying really scary things and laughing.
Yeah.
You know? But those kind of conversations can't happen when I'm not bringing my full self and honesty to the table.
Yes.
And so we have to be in houses of faith, places that champion those kinds of things.
That's right.
And sit in that discomfort. It is uncomfortable to hear about people's stuff and their dirt and what they're dealing with. But if I can, I always tell the most power the enemy ever has over you is when you won't say something out loud.
That's right.
The moment you own it and you say it yourself, he can't lie to you and say when they find out they're gonna do. I already said it.
Right.
What is gonna happen? It's already out in the open. It's literally he keeps the power by keeping you in silence and making you suffer in silence. And so we have to create spaces where it's safe to say the hard thing.
That's right.
Including like when offenses come, what scripture says, to say, hey, I'm not going to accuse you of what your intentions were, but when you said that hurt my feelings.
Right.
Or when you do XYZ, this is how it makes me feel.
Right.
And not being quick to even defend yourself.
Right.
I'm always, like, when I'm in my rants on Facebook, always trying to drive home the intent versus impact. Because the church loves to go, that wasn't my intention.
You're not assuming positive intent.
It doesn't matter.
The impact, my nervous system is shot.
I'm broken and I'm bleeding and you cut me. Well, I fell and the knife slipped into your heart.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But the knife is still in my... Can we acknowledge that the knife is there?
Right.
And so just really having those hard conversations, and I really pray, it's like dream talk. I would love for that to be common.
Yes.
Like, I have friends, we've been friends since we were kids, and we've been able to say like, hey, you said this the other day, it hurt my feelings. Oh, snap, my bad, I didn't know. And it's such like a common thing.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, I really want to see that in the church.
Yes.
Like, just to have, instead of like these, like I said, the offenses and the silent treatment until we get over it, and then we're not really over it. And so when it happens again, now you have all this residual, like now I'm holding you hostage to stuff you did months ago because I never handled it. When you did it months ago, I was good for suppression and we just blow up over the smallest thing.
Yep.
I've been mad at you for 2 years.
Yeah.
And today, you absolutely stepped on my foot and now I'm cussing you out and like what you actually did doesn't match the energy.
The level of emotionality doesn't match the interactions, but it's because it's all the tiny little paper cuts.
Right.
And
I didn't mean to tell you. You've been hurting my feelings for 5 years.
And now you're going to hear from me today.
Yeah,
terrible.
Like, we could avoid so much of that blow up where people ultimately leave the church. And friendships that fall apart it doesn't have to be like that, but we just haven't learned to have hard conversations.
Yeah.
And if we're going to have them, they should be happening in the places of faith.
That part. When you think about it, the church is a family, right? And a lot of us had to learn how to survive our unhealthy and toxic family dynamics. So when we're going into a church, it's chosen family.
Yeah.
It's people I'm choosing to do life with.
Yes.
We got to choose people that are healthy and safe, who want to be able to do these things with us.
Yeah.
Part of it, though, is also seeing how do they handle your emotions? How do they handle when you're going through hard things? But also, are they sharing their stuff with you? A lot of people still in the church, they struggle with vulnerability.
Yes.
They don't want anybody to see what they got going on. There's a lot of shame there.
Yeah.
And the truth is, like, in order to really grow, we have to have people in our lives where we can be naked and unashamed in front of and say, examine me.
Right.
Examine me. Tell me where, front to back, head to toe, where am I getting it wrong?
Yeah.
So that I can grow. What did I do so that we can build this connection, so that we can keep this relationship growing? Because I want to grow, and I know you want to grow, and I need you to be where God needs you to be, because you've got something in you that I need
Yeah.
And you need me to get to where I need to be because there's something in me that you need.
Right.
And so, and I also think when it comes to leadership, a really good leader wants to see people develop.
Yes.
You're not trying to hold people down. You're not trying to tell people, well, you're not being humble. You're being too proud. Honestly, for me, I want to see you surpass me.
Right.
Please do it. Please do it. Listen, there's
remember me.
there is so you don't even have to. Look, there's so much work to be done in the kingdom. I don't want to do it all.
Sure.
I don't want to do it all by myself.
Yeah.
So it would behoove me that you get healthy and that you go out and do it so I don't have to.
Please.
Right?
Yes.
And I think that's what a good healthy leader does.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're not healthy, you're kind of insecure and you want to keep everybody behind and you want to like control the image of the narrative. And I've seen that and I'm with you of, you know, I've been around a lot of different churches, ministries here in the city, and for just a variety of different reasons. And so for a while too, I was like, it's hard for me to go somewhere without somebody knowing me. Yeah. Being like, hey, Gabby, are you going to sing today? Or I was like, I'm going to go somewhere where nobody knows me. Yeah. I want to just go, I want to sit in the background and just put hide in the back. I don't need to, you know? And then it's hard. But then you always end up in the front, you always end up in leadership. And God was like, hey, right now, I need you to go take a step back. I need you to go in your prayer closet. I need you to focus on me. And when I tell you that I've heard God more in this last, I would say probably 8 months of me being just like with me and God, I've heard him in my dreams. God will give me crazy amazing downloads, dreams. He's healed me in my dreams. It's been amazing where like there's things I've been trying to, you know, just process through, and he would give me a dream. I'd wake up with tears in my eyes. I have a spiritual mom who's amazing. She interprets my dreams, but or I'd have a dream and something would happen literally the next day. It was like God just showing me like, hey, I'm walking you through this journey. So like he's just so faithful in that way, because sometimes when you're in an environment where there's just so much going on, it can be really hard to hear from God for yourself. And my nervous system, I'm an empath, and like I'm also an HSP, so highly sensitive. Like I pick up on every little thing. And that's hard sometimes too. And so just being able to unplug for a bit and recalibrate. You actually posted on what actually had me reach out to you was it was talking about re-regulating your nervous system and why you chose the church you did. I'm reading this book and it's called Attached to God by Crispin Mayfield. And this book is so good because it talks about how our attachment styles affect the way we connect with God. So if you have a anxious attachment style, you will feel the need to constantly perform for God. You feel like in order to show God that we love him and all that, we need to do all these things. There's the shutdown attachment style, and this is an interesting one where it talks about people who have this attachment style. What they do is they tend to not do emotion. And so what they do is they are okay with doing all the serving as long as there's no deep connection. As long as I don't have to talk about emotions or anything, like I'm cool to be shoulder to shoulder with you, but I don't want to do face to face. Right? I'm cool to be in group stuff as long as we keep it light and we're not talking about anything for real, but you know, like I can do that. And that doesn't cultivate, you know, deep, meaningful connections. Anxious, you've got the shutdown and the shame field. And the shame field is feeling like you need to do self-punishment or self-criticism. And sometimes it's interesting because you'll notice how obviously there's so many different churches, different theologies where like people will gravitate towards houses based on what they really truly believe internally, right? So if it's like, if I think I'm bad and I'm horrible, I need to be at a church that's just like, you know, you're just a wretched sinner, you know, and like you don't deserve any good things. You're right, I'm a wretched sinner. Okay, well, how is that going to affect the way that people show up in the house, right? But then you also have other churches that it's like, you're amazing, I'm a child of God, and I deserve all the good things. Okay, great. Now we got, you know, a bunch of hot-headed people that think that, they, you know, whatever. And so it's just really interesting, like how, you know, our different attachment styles will attract us to different environments, and then just how to learn how to have a secure attachment with God, and then how that will help us be better, just children of God. So I recommend this book, 10 out of 10.
I'm gonna check it out because I think it's really true. But I constantly, when I talk to friends, I have so many friends of all types of faith beliefs and things. I'm like, I can't escape like the sovereignty of God. Even when like in law, when I practice law, I see just like the salvation story in that. When I talk to friends who are therapists, when I go to therapy and like hear about psychology, even in my own like practices with mindful disciplines and helping people get that self-control and to regulate themselves, you know, there's so much woven into things of creation and God. And so the things of attachment styles, I'm a firm believer that all of that is connected. So I think that book's probably going to be a really good read, because I think it is all connected. And when we can understand that, our approach to faith, our approach to how we do life with God, let alone each other.
That's right. Yes.
It's so much different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I loved having you on.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, this has been such a beautiful conversation.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you just being so vulnerable, so open, and really truly calling people higher. If you could leave the audience with one thing, maybe something to encourage them on just their faith journey or how to just, continue healing, what would you say?
I would say, in the depths of me coming to realize how complicit I was in a lot of harmful things, there's a really big opportunity for me to just say, well, then what was the point of it all? Or was it all a wash? Was it all fake? Did any of it count? Every intention and thing that we are doing in the quest for trying to do it right, do right by people, do right by God, I believe all of that counts. And I believe that if you can zoom out enough, if you're someone who's gripped by shame, by just disappointment, disillusionment, feeling like, was it ever real chicken? Like, what was I even eating? What was I even consuming? There's space with the Lord, and I really want you to believe that. If you really bring the truth into the place of prayer, He can show you what was real and what was fake, and even how He intends to redeem what other people gave you that wasn't real.
Yeah.
And there's space for that. We've been saying that through this whole thing, multiple things can be true. You can get a lot wrong, and God can still even do a lot with your wrongs.
I totally agree with you. Yeah. There's so much that God can do with our wrong, because whatever the enemy meant for evil, God will use for good. And so I appreciate you saying all of that. Yeah. And I also think a big part of it too is, the more we grow in our healing journey, the more we realize we don't know. Yeah. And I think that that's probably the best place to be. Yeah. It's okay to say, I don't know. Yeah. It's okay to say, I'm still figuring it out. It's okay to say, this doesn't work for me anymore. Yeah. It's okay to take a break, and you're not going to believe the same thing that you did 5 years ago, right?
I would hope not.
And I would hope not. Yeah, we should continually grow in a true healthy faith journey. You should be able to wrestle with so many different things, just like the name Israel is one who wrestles with God. So if you're not wrestling with some of the things that you've been a part of, some of the patterns that you keep doing that maybe aren't even helpful, then we got to ask, are we even growing?
For sure.
So, that's real. Well, thanks for being here. Yeah, thank you for being here. How can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me. So it's Holy Neighbor, but like whole, so WHOLLY neighbor on Instagram, holyneighbor.com.
Love it.
I'm over there.
I love that. Okay. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. If you liked Jessica, please let us know in the comments below. What are some things that you really took away from this conversation? And I'll see you in the next episode.